Hi, I'm Curious Vedant, and welcome to season 6 of my podcast. Today, my guest is Nitya Naresh, who is an expressive and creative art therapist. She has also acted in a few Telugu and Malayalam movies and dabbles in the creative media industry. Hi, Nitya. Welcome to my show.
Hi, Vedant. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'm really excited to interview you.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to be here.
So, Nitya, I'm curious to know, what does an expressive and creative art therapist do?
So an expressive and creative art therapist, expressive and creative art therapy is different modalities of therapy. So it's not just visual art, but you have things like movement, dance, sound, drama, psychodrama, and many others, really. So expressive and creative art therapy is a space where, as a therapist or a practitioner, I can offer my clients so many other modalities other than just talk therapy.
Well, that sounds really interesting.
Thank you.
Do you enjoy doing your job?
Yes, I do. So I had a different career for about 7-8 years, and this is a new journey I'm on. My mother has been a psychologist, an alternate therapist, life coach for her whole career. So maybe watching her sort of might have given me the knack that I have. And I think in 2020 is when I decided to officially and formally start my journey in this field, which is different from what I was working in before.
What types of art do you focus on in your therapy?
So I've learned different forms of expressive art, like visual art therapy, drama therapy, psychodrama therapy, dance or movement therapy, and expressive body therapy. But in my practice, particularly, which I've had since March 2022 officially, I think most of my clients click the most with either visual art or psychodrama are the two ones that I've predominantly noticed that work well with my clients. But when I do group workshops, which is a larger group, then I dabble more into drama therapy and movement therapy and things like that. They work really well in group workshops or group settings.
Wow, that's really nice. Congratulations on getting your own practice.
Thank you.
Why is there a need for these different approaches in therapy?
Well, I guess personally, my opinion, it may not have to be everybody's, but I've noticed that not everyone is comfortable just talking about their feelings. And sometimes, even if they have a lot to say, they don't know where to start, or they don't know how to fully immerse themselves to even know exactly what they're feeling in order to communicate it to another person. So in those situations, what expressive art does is, one, it even though you don't realize that it's invasive, it works so subtly and so slowly that you don't realize how deep you're actually going with the activities. You don't realize how much it's helping you discover who you are, or helping you figure out what is the core trauma or feeling that you're having. And it works really well with children, with teenagers, with young adults, because having an activity sometimes helps the person be present in their body and in their mind and figure out things. It works really well for depression and anxiety. It works well for healing trauma. Colors have a way of just helping you express and also heal at the same time. But I've used it mostly for helping my clients really explore who they are, discover who they are, so that then we can talk about things that are maybe a struggle for them or bothering them. But I use it a lot for self-discovery, and then we move to struggles and healing and other things. I also realized in 2020, up till 2020, there's this big taboo around mental health. Telling a person you're going to therapy, or telling someone that, I need help, is always looked at as a little bit of, oh, that's not something we tell people, or that's not something we say loudly or acknowledge. But I feel like after the pandemic, people realize that mental health is a real thing, and these issues are just as real as when your physical health gets affected. And I think that's also what pushed me into, so I've been working alongside my mother for a long time, but I think this is what 2020 pushed me to formally study it myself and have my own practice.
I interviewed a psychologist, I think 1 or 2 years ago,
Mhm.
And we also discussed how different colors can be associated with different feelings, and for each person that those feelings or colors are different.
Yeah, absolutely. That each client, in my mind, red can mean anger or passion, but for my client, red is, a bland feeling. It could be anything. So each person, so we never, as an expressive art therapist, I never tell a client what color to use. We will talk about the feeling they're feeling that day. And then I ask them to look at their colors and pick the color that feels like that feeling. So for everybody, it's different, you know? Yeah, you're absolutely right.
You have acted in a few movies. How do you come across those opportunities?
So when I was younger, when I initially did my studies, I did my BA in mass communication, and then I followed that up with my master's in filmmaking, which is a film director's course. Because back then, everyone said, "Yeah, I have the gift of the gab." I used to do a lot of theater. I used to do a lot of emceeing and host a lot of events, and I figured that mass communication or some kind of communication was my forte and my field. And I had made a short film in my final year, which really got me my creative juices flowing. And I really enjoyed writing the script and shooting it and all of that. And so I decided to do my master's in filmmaking, after which I was actually an assistant director for ad in Mumbai. And it was just fluke that I had done a photo shoot for fun. And somebody liked my pictures and they offered me a role in a very small role. It started off with in a Telugu movie, and I was visiting my parents in Hyderabad at that time. And so I just did the audition for the fun of it. Like I had nothing to lose. And then when I got the role, I said, fine, it's just 15 minutes in a movie. It's not going to drastically change my life. I did it. I actually went back to Bombay. And then I came back to Hyderabad. I was working with a friend of mine in his ad agency as a creative head. And then somewhere at the age of 24, things just clicked and somebody offered me the lead role in a film. And I think that's the first time I actually sat and thought about it and said, oh, do I want to do this with my life? And because I did a lot of theater growing up, acting came naturally to me, but I never expected making a career out of it. And as a family, so we do everything as a family, and my parents, we all sat down, had a talk about the whole thing. And my dad's been a really big help, so he manages me in that industry to make sure it's smooth running and all of that. And so I managed to do like 4 Telugu films and 2 Malayalam films up until 2019, and I think my first film was in 2014 or 15. So it was a nice run. I enjoyed it.
Was it difficult being on set and being away from your family while shooting?
I don't think being away from my family was very difficult, because 80% of the time my father traveled with me wherever I went. Um, and I think I enjoyed the art form so much because I'm an extremely artistic person. So the art of acting is something I really enjoyed. And I would work double shifts if I had to, because that's how much I enjoyed the job. The industry as a whole can be slightly exhausting. The politics of it all, and those kind of things. My dad handled most of it. He actually, if it wasn't for him, I don't know if I would have done that career as long as I did. He really took on half the load, so I could be relaxed most of the time. Physically, yes, shoots can be very tiring, and they have been for me, especially when people are 6 in the morning to the next day. Sometimes we do double shifts and we're working almost 20, 22 hours in the day. So physically, yes, very exhausting because you're working in the sun, in the rain, in the cold. Totally depends on your film. But I think because I enjoyed the art form so much, it didn't really make me feel too burdened by it.
Yeah, movie making and being an actor seems really, really fun.
Yeah, I would say there are two sides to every coin, but I think I made the most of it that I could, and I enjoyed every bit of it.
Do you miss your acting career?
A part of me does, if I'll be absolutely honest. Ever since I started studying, I haven't had much time for it, though I haven't put a full stop to that career. I feel like thanks to online platforms like Netflix and Amazon and, Z, there are a lot of more opportunities that are coming out there for people and young actors and things like that. So I might still do a few movies or web series if the right story comes my way. But now I am focusing a little more on my therapeutic career than I, was before.
Yeah, that's really interesting. You must have had a lot of fun while making your movies.
I did. I think my favorite part was the fact that I could play different people, live an alternate life for those few days, which is quite, I would say, exciting and intriguing and, fun.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds really fun. From studying mass communications and film studies and then acting in movies, what made you choose to be a therapist?
So, like I said, my mother has been a therapist her whole life, and she's been like not a conventional therapist. She's been an alternate therapist and a life coach, and she's done practices of Reiki and Access bars and GFT and tarot card reading, and she was a very out there person in therapy back when normal therapy was not considered a big thing. I think seeing that growing up, when I was in my early 20s, my mother was the one who told me that I had a knack for helping people and I had a knack of how I communicate with people. And she always said, you should consider a career in this field. But back then I was like, oh, I don't have the patience to be a therapist where I sit on a chair and write notes about a person talking, because back then conventional therapy was the only kind of studies we had in terms of graduation and post graduation. But now 10 years later, there are so many other kinds where people have explored, ventured, and brought to India, where now it's taught here. Otherwise you had to go abroad to study all these things back then, like 10 years ago. And so, but even though I didn't formally study it back then and I was pursuing another career, I worked alongside my mother's practice for at least 8 years now. So she has a practice called Sanctuary of Life, where she hosts all her clients, has these workshops and all these things. And so all the teenage kids and young adult workshops, I would curate them with her, where I would, even without studying it, incorporate a lot of my drama therapy that I had, that had worked for me into those workshops. So I would facilitate those with her, where I would take the kids through different activities that would help them, be more outspoken, use their imagination more, talk about things like stress and bullying and, a lot of things that kids go through in school, which I did as a child as well. And so to talk to someone who's been there, done that, but through activities instead of just sitting in a group and talking about it, I felt like really helped. So I was doing that for many years with her. And I think 2020 just pushed me to formally study it and learn more and know more, because, there's no end to learning, and get my master's in those subjects, which I'm in the process of. And yeah, so I think that's when I decided to start my own venture in it and not just, help her and hers.
Wow, that's a really, really inspiring journey.
Thank you, Vedant.
Did you feel a bit sad for the people when they told you what they were going through?
So before I started studying it more than a year ago, I only did group workshops. I never did one-on-one. So in group workshops, sometimes you don't touch on the very deep things. But ever since I did start my practice early this year and had one-on-one clients, there have been moments and days where what we address in that session is very heavy or is very deep. I wouldn't say I've ever been sad or that it's been a lot for me, because as a therapist, my main job is to create a safety container for my clients where they feel safe and vulnerable enough to come and thrash out anything that they need, that they feel safe, not judged. And really holding that kind of space for my clients is the most important thing for me. So yes, I will feel what they're feeling sometimes, but not from a space of, oh, I'm sad for them, but, oh, I really feel what you're feeling. And I'm absorbing, what is coming from your body and your tone and your speech and your thoughts, and really hold space for them. Sometimes what they're sharing can have an effect on me, where if somebody's sharing something really, really, deep and serious, I might absorb a little bit and have my own thoughts and feelings about it. Which I may not talk about directly in a session, but maybe that's if it's really affected me, my body, or my thought process, that's something as a therapist I will take to my therapist and talk about, because there must be a reason why what my client said affected me as much as it did. That means there's something in my body or in my, a mind space that's triggering me. So that's a good sign to tell me that, oh, I have to take this to therapy. Maybe this means something, but I would not really project it on my client or, make them feel conscious or awkward in any way, but we can talk about it, and I can be honest about how I'm feeling.
Yeah, so you weren't like oh, I'm so sad for you. But at the same time, you can't be, whatever, it's fine. It's not
Yeah. Yeah, somewhere in the middle of those two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you want to be as a child?
Oh my God, so many things. I think when I was very, very young, I thought I'd become an architect, which didn't happen. And then somewhere through school in seventh or eighth grade, I wanted to be a pilot. And then I was told, so I have astigmatism. I wear spectacles. I've had it since birth, and I've been wearing spectacles since I was 3 years old. So I was told with that kind of eyesight defect, there's a good chance I wouldn't get a flying license. So like I wasn't motivated to study science if I couldn't have that career. Then from then I went on to I wanted to be a fashion designer, I think, by the time I graduated 10th. I actually have a sketchbook full of drawings, but then by the time I reached 12th, I realized, no, that's not it either. And then I reached, okay, I have the gift of the gab. I think communications is my thing. So I studied mass communications for my BA because in that you study everything, because I don't have to decide yet. So you study advertising, you study PR, you study film, you study TV, you study, radio, you study all the forms of communication, journalism. So I knew I had 3 years to study all of it and then decide which one I liked the most. And growing up, I had, I was bullied a lot as a child for being, dusky, South Indian. And those days, nobody understood curly hair, beauty standards were being fair and having straight hair. And, there was a lot of, I feel like I never fully came out of my shell in school life because I was too afraid of being judged, because I had faced a lot of judgment from my peers. So slowly when I reached college, I think it was the first time, junior college and degree college was when I actually started coming out of my shell, where people started being more open and accepting of who I was. And then I wasn't shy to show who I am. I think that's when I realized that communications was my thing. And I pursued that career for a while.
And then you chose the filmmaking part, right?
Yeah. And then I did my post-graduation in film direction from Xavier's in Mumbai. And the journey's been quite exciting since then.
Yeah, my mom studied being an architect.
Mm.
Yeah, but now she's not an architect anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being a pilot does actually sound really, really fun.
Yeah. I feel like if nobody had told me that there's a chance I wouldn't make it, I might have genuinely pursued it further because, I like the idea of flying.
Yeah. It's quite sad that we can't just get ourselves wings and fly.
Yeah, I know.
The metal bird.
Yeah, that would be so fun. Yeah. Yeah. And we didn't all have all these eye surgeries back then, like when I was choosing, which is like more than 15 years ago. Now we do. Now we have all this LASIK and stuff to, correct eyesight. And if somebody wanted to do this, they could. But back then we didn't have so much, not for astigmatism anyway.
What are your hobbies?
Oh, so all my hobbies are extremely creative because, as you would have understood, I'm a very creative person. My most favorite is DIY. So I love making things. If there's something that's especially like a gift to gift my friends or something for an event, I prefer to make it. And if you can make it, I will make it, whether it's from glass or wood or, I've been experimenting a lot, especially all the free time I had during COVID. So I love DIY. I love, I'm not a great artist, but I love playing with color. I love dancing and singing. I'm like a, high level bathroom singer with full confidence in there while I'm alone. But dancing something that I've really enjoyed my whole life. Something, that'll always get me on my toes. Of course, I love theater. Now that everything's digital, I guess you could call me a Netflix addict or little, or something on those lines, because now our lives are consumed by online content. I don't know if it's a hobby, but I think I spend too much time in front of the screen. But yeah, no, anything creative, if I can experience it, do it. I'm all in there. And traveling. My goal in life is to travel the globe before I die. So I really hope I achieve that. I'm on my way there. Up until COVID, I had this rule that I would visit a new country every year. And I did for almost 6 years before COVID. Every year I would, but since COVID I have not. So maybe next year I can continue this.
What is the most recent place you visited for COVID?
So I don't know. What's the last one? New Zealand. So I've been to New Zealand, Bali, Hong Kong, Dubai, Sri Lanka, places like that. And this year, actually, I'm going this year. I'm going to Bali again this year with my sister and both our fiancés. So that's a little trip we're doing. But I think the one I enjoyed the most was New Zealand. It's got so much nature, and there, so many resources, and I'm a big nature person, and it was just so nice to be there. And the weather was always so nice, and we went in the summer, so it was really nice and cool and breezy, not freezing, so we could actually go around. And I was there for a whole month. I traveled as much as I could with my family, and we saw all of North Island in the whole month in detail. So it was quite good. It's my favorite, I think, so far.
Yeah, New Zealand seems fun. I've never been there, but it seems really fun.
Yeah.
Next year, I think I'm going to Bali, actually.
Ooh, yes. That's also another good one. Really nice.
What should I do there?
So I've been there once with my mom. We went there for actually a retreat that my mom was hosting, part of her therapeutic practice. So we didn't explore as much. We were mostly in the resort doing the workshops. But I'm going again this year because I hope to explore Bali more this time. And from what I understand, a few days by the beach and a few days in the mountains would be a perfect trip, because both are just as beautiful. The stays in the mountains as well as by the beach. And even there, the rice paddy fields and their waterfalls are amazing. So they have their own waterfall tour where you can go see all the, the best waterfalls that they have. And there also nature is one of the, biggest things that people go there for to see. And the people I hear are very nice. The food is good if you like Asian food. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. I'll know more after I go this time and actually adventure through the city.
Yeah. All those places seem really fun, like especially New Zealand. It sounds like I want to go there sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, the closest I've been to you, I think, is Hong Kong. I'm guessing that's slightly close to Singapore.
Yeah, it is. Even I've been to Hong Kong. It's really nice.
Yeah. And we took a ferry to Macau, and it was really nice. Saw the old architecture on the island. Yeah, I went there to visit my cousin brother who was a pilot there, and spent a good 15 days exploring Hong Kong. I really like that city.
Did you go on planes with him, like next to the cockpit?
No, so I have not been on a flight that he was flying at the time that I was flying, but that would have been really cool.
Yeah, that would. Thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you so much, Vedant, for having me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoyed it. Like, congratulations on getting your own practice, and
thank you
on getting the chance to act in all those movies.
Yeah, I've been blessed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vedant. I hope you're doing well too. And I think it's amazing that you started your own podcast at such a young age. And it's so wonderful and creative. And I'm really, really honored that you asked me to be here.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah.
All right.
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dear listeners, follow my Facebook page, Curious Vedant, to get updates on my upcoming episodes. To listen at leisure on your phone and get notified about future episodes, subscribe by searching for Curious Vedant wherever you get your podcasts, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can also listen to my show on CuriousVedant.com. Thank you for listening to Curious Vedant, and don't forget to rate and leave comments.